Janelle. We are very excited to walk you through the Korean resource set for the Modern Languages K-10 syllabus. I would like to begin with an acknowledgement of country. We recognise the ongoing custodians of the lands and waterways where we work and live. We pay respect to elders, past and present, as ongoing teachers of knowledge, songlines and stories. We strive to ensure every Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander learner in New South Wales achieves their potential through education. I personally acknowledge and feel grateful to live and work on the majestic lands of the Dharawal people in the Illawarra. This has always been and always will be Aboriginal land. So we're going to begin today with a walkthrough of the Korean resource set. What are they and where can you find them? So in our resource set for Korean, we have included a scope and sequence for stages 4 and 5, including a teacher version and a student-friendly scope and sequence infographic, a unit of work with 39 accompanying resources, a student-friendly unit of work infographic, and an assessment task with marking guidelines and a sample response. It's important to note that each of these inclusions are samples and they're not a directive of what to teach. We've provided each of these elements so you can see how the new syllabus can be applied to Stage 4 and Stage 5 Korean and to support you in your planning and teaching. You can use these resources in several ways. As they are, you'll find everything you need so you can pick up and teach it. This gives you and your students a whole term to experience the new syllabus content and pedagogy. Or you can use it as a resource or ideas bank to pick and choose parts to use and adapt to suit your context, or as a means to build your understanding to support you to create your own programming resources. We'll show you the thinking behind some of the resources as an example of how to implement the new syllabus. The resources are published on our website, which you can access by visiting our webpage. The address is shown on the screen, as well as a QR code, which will take you to the landing page. Click on the Planning, Programming and Assessing Languages 7 to 10 page, and then click on the Korean tab, which will bring you to our Korean support. Scroll down the web page until you see Modern Languages K-10 syllabus. Alternatively, you can access from the resources link on our landing page. If you then search the 7 to 10 catalogue for Korean, the new support appears with some very pretty pictures. Over to you, Chanel.
Thank you, Kristen. Hi, everyone. I am coming to you from a Awabakal land in Lake Macquarie, and let's take a look at our Stage 4 and 5 Korean scope and sequences. Before planning our Stage 4 unit of work, we first mapped out a sample scope and sequence for Stage 4. Our scope and sequence includes title and duration. You can see on the title page, it's 100 hours for Stage 4. A learning overview, a description of what students will learn term by term, syllabus outcomes, skills, in other words, what skills students will develop in Korean, and an assessment task. It is important to note that our department scope and sequence documents contain more information than what's required by NESA. We believe the additional information better supports both you and your students, which is ultimately our goal in creating them. Like all our resources, please modify them to suit your context. We have chosen to include the skills that students develop, so the intention of the outcomes and content is clear. We have also included the suggested assessment task, and NESA's requirements are embedded in our documents. Let's take a more detailed look into the scope and sequences now. The term and duration. Our sample units have been designed as 10-week units, so they are a full term of learning. You may adjust these to suit your context and to align with assessment periods at your school. To support reporting, which may or may not fall at the end of the term, the units include a range of assessment ideas in the form of mini tasks. The learning overview. This provides the unit title and a description of what the students will learn. Outcomes. The 3 syllabus outcomes are covered in every unit. However, Please note that not every content dot point is addressed in every unit. The content dot points all need to be addressed over the course of a stage and are considered essential learning in order for students to meet the outcomes. Skills. We have included the communication and language skills for each unit as a guide to student learning during the unit. Having them here helps cross-check them quickly with other units across the stages to ensure you see a growth in skills within each stage and across the stages. Language should be constantly recycled and built upon. And assessment. We have designed an assessment task for each unit of work, ensuring all outcomes are assessed across the stage. We have also demonstrated interrelated tasks that assess more than one outcome. These are samples and not directives. Remember, assessment requirements are school-based decisions, so you may assess individual or multiple outcomes depending on your context. Remember, these documents are not prescriptive. You can absolutely design your scope and sequence differently. We provide extra information to support teachers. Your way is okay too. These are the topics we have included in our scope and sequence for Stage 4 and Stage 5. The highlighted topic is the unit of work we have fully developed in this set of Korean resources. We have created student-facing infographics of the scope and sequences. As with the unit of work infographic, they can be displayed in your classroom or given to students so they know the language learning journey they will embark on. You can even include them in school newsletters and subject selection books. These visuals are engaging for students and can build excitement towards their language learning. You can adapt our versions or you can create your own, and the editable links for all of these designs on Canva are provided within these resources.
So now we'll move on to unpacking our Stage 4 unit of work. When you access our unit of work, you'll notice it is a long document. We would like to acknowledge this and explain why. Our units of work are standalone resources. They include everything you need to teach the unit, everything from teaching and learning activities and student resources to mini tasks and formal summative assessment tasks. The unit of work has a unit description, including timing and what communication and language skills will be covered. Student prior learning is also addressed, so you know our intended expectations of skills students need prior to doing the unit of work. This also means you know what to pre-teach if you want to pick up and teach the unit. You don't need to use all of the unit. You can use parts of it, take activities from it, and use them in your own context or even with units of other languages. Timeframes, formative and summative assessment tasks, teaching and learning activities, and reflection and feedback opportunities should be adjusted to suit your context, including the specific strengths and needs of your students. Just like the scope and sequences, there's a student-friendly unit of work infographic available for you to use or adapt. Again, this is a good way to provide students with an overview of where they're heading in the unit. And the editable link to this actual infographic is in the unit of work itself. So you can go through the unit of work, access the link, and edit it to suit your context. When creating this unit of work, one of our main priorities was to ensure all teaching and learning activities were underpinned by explicit teaching pedagogy. This focus aligns with the department's plan for public education. This unit uses a range of strategies to encourage student participation and engagement. Learning is regularly linked to students' world, encouraging them to make connections and appreciate the relevance of the learning in a meaningful way. Tools such as an online student selector are used to call on students to participate in activities at random, promoting student engagement as students must remain on task and be prepared to respond at any time. Activities with point or prize systems are included to facilitate enjoyment in learning. This unit also includes activities which can be completed outside or involve physical movement to improve student concentration, lessening the cognitive load through combining learning and movement. When crafting this unit of work, we also considered inclusivity. We have endeavoured to ensure that all students are represented in learning. Teaching activities have suggested differentiation strategies to assist teachers in considering how the activities can be adapted to ensure the participation of all students. Finally, we know that as language teachers, authentic and relevant listening resources can be hard to find. We have included a number of listening activities which come with accompanying audio files in this unit of work. Our mini-task progress checkpoints are formative assessment opportunities backward mapped from the end of unit summative task. There are 2 included in our unit after each learning sequence. These support students to identify where they are on their learning journey in relation to meeting the requirements of the summative task. If you find your students need more time to complete the unit, you can also use these mini tasks as summative tasks. Please see our support as flexible, which you can use as is or adapt to your context. The teaching, learning and assessment activities have been chunked into lesson sequences, each with their own learning intentions and success criteria, as well as the relevant vocabulary and grammatical structures, as you can see on the screen. Sequence learning reflects explicit teaching, whereby students can access prior knowledge to reduce cognitive load, and paced instruction with modelling and examples to help ease burden on working memory. In this unit, the lesson sequences range from 2 to 4 weeks. Within each learning sequence are our teaching and learning activities, each one aligned to syllabus content dot points and underpinned by explicit teaching pedagogy. You can see these in bold after each activity. In the modern languages context, the outcomes in the syllabus are very broad. The true richness of the syllabus lies in the content dot points. Each time we've chosen the dot point or dot points, which align most strongly to the activity, but there may be others. By aligning these dot points to activities, we're showcasing what the syllabus looks like in the classroom. It also helps you see the breadth of content covered in each unit. We recommend including and tracking them within and across your units to ensure you cover all of them across the scope of the year. Our unit includes differentiation strategies for students requiring additional support, high potential and gifted students, and students with advanced proficiency in the target language. These strategies are neither exhaustive nor definitive. They're just examples of how we can differentiate activities and tasks to meet the needs of a range of students. This example is how we provide a differentiation for mini task 2, which requires students to create a dialogue of an interaction between a customer and a shopkeeper to practice for a trip to the market. In their dialogue, students must include culturally appropriate greetings, identify items, ask and say what they want to buy, describe items, and ask and say the price. Please take a moment to read the differentiation examples on the screen. Throughout the unit, we have included opportunities for student self-reflection to support students to gain ownership of their own learning, build a deeper understanding of how the language can be applied to the summative task, as well as identify which skills they need to strengthen and where to go for help. Likewise, we've added a checkpoint to remind teachers to reflect on the learning so far and provide an opportunity to consider what adjustments are required. In our unit of work, we've suggested the use of an anchor chart. An anchor chart is a visual summary of learning, which you can see on the screen. It allows students to organise content and assist them with learning and memorisation, as it can be easily and often referred to, both in class and when revising at home. Throughout each learning sequence, when new vocabulary, expressions and language structures are presented, we suggest the students add them to the anchor chart. In this unit, we've suggested a digital anchor chart using Padlet. There are many other digital tools that can be used, or they can be handwritten. Rather than having individual anchor charts, the teacher may choose to have a collaborative one for the whole class. Brain breaks are a feature we've incorporated into the Korean unit of work. They're used to lessen cognitive load, allow students' concentration capabilities to replenish, and to improve focus and attention. The most effective type of brain breaks are ones which use both sides of the brain. In our unit, we've incorporated brain breaks which are still connected to the learning, but also incorporate an element of movement, ultimately igniting both sides of the brain. Please take a moment to read through the example of the coin flipper on the screen. Exit tickets appear throughout our units of work in each chunk of learning. The first exit ticket on the screen is an example of how they can be used as a quick way to check for understanding and provide the teacher with a quick snapshot of the progress students have made that lesson. They usually increase in difficulty as the unit progresses and as the level of language the students are learning increases in complexity. The second exit ticket is an example of how the activity can be differentiated depending on the student. I'll just give you a moment to have a quick read. Over to you, Chanel.
Thank you, Kristen. Now that we have had a look at the features of the unit of work, let's take a look at some of the activities included in it. The teaching and learning activities demonstrate the outcomes in action with outcome dot points from the Modern Languages syllabus, aligned to teaching and learning activities. They contain hyperlinks to the resources you need to do each activity. They unpack the pedagogy behind each activity. They contain suggestions for differentiation or variations, and they have a focus on inclusivity for our learners. As we have said, this unit of work is designed to pick up and teach. So we have included a number of PowerPoints to explain key language points. For example, there are separate PowerPoints to explain to students how to identify items using the appropriate sentence ending, how to ask the price of an item, and how to specify items using this or that. The PowerPoints also include activities to help you practice the structures with your class. These PowerPoints can be downloaded and edited to suit your context. Here you can see the content dot points from the syllabus aligned to an activity using the PowerPoint titled, "What is that?" You'll see that the unit of work includes activities that introduce and drill language structures. There are a variety of tools used to showcase variation in how vocabulary can be introduced and practiced with students. For example, flashcards with accompanying activities, games, and interacting activities. Interacting is a huge focus of the new syllabus. It can be challenging to consider how to get students to interact with each other spontaneously in Korean. The unit includes a range of activities to promote interaction between students in an authentic and relevant way. Some of the interacting activities include information gap activities, story cubes, dialogue prompts, and scaffolds. You'll notice we have included Romanized Korean in our support. Please delete this if it's not suitable for your context. As well as a range of games like Running Reporter, vocabulary games using flashcards, identifying items in Korean in a drawing game using mini whiteboards, and more. Here, you can see an example of how an interacting activity is described in the unit of work with examples and aligned to content dot points and outcomes. One of the priorities when creating this unit of work was to include listening tasks to help Stage 4 students develop this skill. We have created resources with a variety of listening activities. Each listening activity includes a transcript and answers. Remember, all of our resources are editable, so if you need to, you can change the content for your own context, and read or record them yourself. Here you can see an example of how the listening activity is described in the unit of work and aligned to content dot points and an outcome. Throughout the unit, conversation scaffolds and templates are used as a differentiation strategy for students requiring additional support. These templates and scaffolds provide structured practice, build confidence, promote accuracy and fluency, and support differentiation in instruction. This Conti-style approach reflects the latest trends in language teaching pedagogy, emphasizing the importance of comprehensible input, meaningful interaction, and systematic vocabulary and grammar instruction. We have included several of his activities in our unit of work, as well as those of Steve Smith, another leading language teaching expert with a similar approach to Gianfranco Conti. In this activity, students use conversation prompts to identify food items. And here you can see the content dot points from the syllabus aligned to this activity. Using games in language teaching is a way to motivate students, a way to provide input as well as an extensive practice of language structures. This unit of work includes many games, and we have mapped everything out logically for the teacher. Each resource includes an explanation of the game, including the rules and cards or images you need, and ideas for variations and differentiation strategies. Finally, some of the teaching and learning activities in the unit of work include links to other resources online, such as websites and videos. We have created worksheets or other activities to complement these existing fantastic online resources. Here you can see how viewing a YouTube video about Guangzhou Market and a children's memory game are incorporated into the unit of work with an accompanying activity. You can also see the content dot point from the syllabus aligned to these activities. And now over to you, Kristen.
Thank you, Chanel. To support teachers in the implementation of the Modern Languages K-10 syllabus, the Languages and Culture team has been developing support, in addition to the Korean suite of resources you've seen today, for Japanese, French, Chinese, Spanish, German, and Italian. While this support is language specific, teachers are able to adapt the activities and modify the resources for use in their own context and for the language they teach, where appropriate. This snapshot of our support was shared in the statewide staff room at the end of term 2, and we'll add it in and we'll send you the link to it later on. You'll notice that we've also incorporated Korean. This is what the document itself looks like. It unpacks the units for each language in more detail, including a description of the suggested assessment task and the skills students would develop throughout the unit. So just to clarify, this support already exists in other languages. So if you'd like to adapt it to Korean, then you are more than welcome to do that if you think it aligns with the content that you intend to teach. So before we conclude our presentation today, we'd like to point out a couple of avenues of our support for the syllabus. If you haven't already completed it, the micro-learning our team created on MyPL is an excellent introduction to the syllabus. The 90-minute support package developed for Term 2 School Development Day, which focused on the Modern Languages K-10 syllabus, is still available to access. Also, please feel free to contact us or any of the Languages and Culture team if you have any questions or need advice or support. We're always happy to assist. Our contact details can be found on our website or through the QR code on the screen. Now, thank you so much for joining us at the launch of the Korean suite of resources. Now, I do have a QR code for you guys to complete an evaluation, but does anybody have any questions? I would like to, in a moment, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that we can see you and see if you have any questions. Were there any questions posted in